Hey, Tanner, this is Kale Sanderson. Just wondering why you're making all these Iowa videos. I mean, we did go 5 for 5 and stuff in the finals, so yeah, just get back to me or, make a Penn State video finally. Alright, bye. Alrighty, as you guys heard from Coach Kale, it is time to make another Penn State video. I know all you Hawkeye fans were left with a bad taste in your mouth after Nationals, but then you got a nice rebound with the Real Woods transfer news, just for people to say it was an unethical transfer. But unlike their rivals, Penn State seems to be staying out of drama, for now at least in the beginning of the offseason. I talked about their amazing feat a ton in my NCAA recap, so go check that out if you haven't already. That video is one of my longest ones and I'm super proud of it, so hitting a like on that video, and this one for that fact, would be highly appreciated. But yeah, what else is there really to say about Penn State's national run besides they looked incredible? They once again went 5 for 5 and they steamed past the competition, and they were by far the leader in bonus points, which takes them back to their dynasty roots. However, losing Nick Lee, possibly RBY, and some other key players is not the easiest for a team to rebound from. Right? Well, Penn State is returning 3, maybe 4 of their national champs, so maybe not as hard as we thought. But before I get too far ahead of myself, hey everyone, my name is Tanner and welcome to TrueTan Wrestling. If you enjoy this video or my content, consider letting me know in the comment section below, along with hitting that like button, or if you've been peeking around my channel for a while, don't be shy to hit that subscribe button too. Despite what Kale said in the beginning of the video, I have made plenty of Penn State content, so don't worry about that. But alrighty, I guess it's time to start this lineup breakdown. I gotta stretch before this because there is a lot to talk about. As I said, Penn State ran away with it this year. There were times Michigan was in the hunt after the quarters, but it was hard to beat 5 national champs, especially when they were bonusing very early in the tournament, and while the other teams just weren't bonusing that much. Also, Penn State's massive heavy hitter transfers from the mid-season didn't even do that much in the long run. Berge, who scored 2 points, and Hildebrand, who scored half a point. Even with those 2 underperformances, the rest of the team still stepped up and dominated. But let's take a look at the 125 options for next season. Hildebrand transferred in from Michigan State for his final year eligibility last year to be Penn State's 125 option. He placed 4th the year before at Nationals, so he was a great add-in for sure. What they had in the wing that year was Gary Steen and Redshirt, a top PA recruit, so he will be battling for the spot along with Baylor Shunk, who actually competed pretty well during his opportunities this season. Starting man for this upcoming season though will more than likely be Robbie Howard, once again, who was the star during the 2021 free COVID year. So he will enter this season as a redshirt freshman due to his redshirt last year that I believe was for recovery reasons for his shoulder injury. I'm sure Howard has been recovered for a good while now and has been training for a good bit too, and he'll continue to get better until next season. I'm beyond excited to see him back in the lineup because he showed some serious promise during his true freshman year in 2021. He beat Jack Medley of Michigan in his debut match, which we all know is not an easy first match to get. He beat Ragusin at Big Tens and wrestled some top tier guys really tough. He lost to Heinzelman twice that season, but he would beat him at Nationals, so he clearly compete with the top tier guys. Plus he had the entire year and he's going to have this whole summer to develop, so he will for sure be a nice fill-in and fun to watch at 125 next year for the Nittany Lions. 125 is an interesting weight for sure, but 133 might be a little bit more interesting just from a speculation standpoint. We all heard RBY say after his second national title that a third would feel pretty good too, so that is when all the rumors started of his possible return to Penn State. Granted, I think most Penn State fans were going to predict his return regardless, considering he still has a year eligibility to use. Let's say he comes back. Then Penn State is going to have a super tough team to beat at the big show. However, if he does not come back, who else do the Nittany Lions have at 133? They just got the transfer Betancourt from Ohio State, who did wrestle a few matches for the Buckeyes, but he was not the star at the end of the year. They also have longtime fill-in guy Meredith, who has experience being the star at the end of the year for the postseason, but it was just at 125 and not 133. These options are clearly not an RBY, but these guys will for sure win matches against mid-tier and some top-tier guys for sure. They have proven that before, so it'll be exciting to see how this 133 situation develops. All my chips are on RBY coming back, but we will see. At 141, we sadly lost one of my favorite wrestlers over the years in Nick Lee, a 2-time national champ and a relatively high bonus point scorer. And did I forget to mention he probably would have been right in the Hodge talk if Gable Steveson wasn't a thing. But that is besides the point. What exactly is Penn State supposed to do now at 141? Well, no need to fear because they have a pretty good plan. I'm going to have to mix 149 a little bit it in this 141 section because last year's 149 starter, Bo Barlett, is more than likely dropping down to a more natural weight in 141. Barlett was a massive recruit, and if he could compete at 149 with the best guys, I have extremely high hopes for him at 141, especially with the field really clearing out. We also have to remember Bo Barlett isn't the most offensive scorer, and that might be due to his weight being such a light 149, so I think he'll make 141 just fine without cutting too much weight. Plus, we have to remember, even being an undersized 49, he beat Parco of Arizona State, who's a two-time All-American, so this will be a great fill-in at 141. The 149 guy is another top-tier prep school recruit in Van Ness from the prestigious Blair Academy. Quick story, the first time I heard about him, he beat Busiello at Super 32, who's supposed to be the next big thing at Penn State, but now Van Ness might make himself the next big thing at Penn State, but alright, that's neither here nor there. Back to the script. Van Ness wrestled a really limited redshirt season last year. He only wrestled 2 matches at the Clarion Open. He looked pretty amazing during those matches, but they weren't top tier opponents or anything. But him not wrestling any other opens and falling out of the Clarion tournament is a little concerning for his redshirt development. That situation has been pretty hush-hush, so maybe just didn't want to wrestle at opens, but who knows. I hope we still see him at 149 in November and healthy for the Nittany Lions. So over to my What is Penn State Doing video. 157 once again is the most confusing weight by a mile. We will have Negron, Bearclaw, and Jolie all competing for the 157 spot again. Brady Berge is actually done with college wrestling and he is back to coaching, so yes, these 3 will be battling, like I said, again. These 3 were in and out of the lineup last season, and because of that, we really didn't see a ton of action from them in the grand scheme of things. I know Negron and Bearclaw are natural 149s, so I hope they can bulk up this offseason since they know they'll be competing for a spot this season. Jolie is a big 157 for sure, so I hope he controls this weight this season and he comes into the roster battle swinging. However, there might be one more ace in the hole by the name of Levi Haynes. Haynes was essentially a gray shirt last season, skipping his senior year of high school, very similar to Nick Lee when he was a high school senior. However, I can tell you right now, Levi Haynes had a way better gray shirt year than Nick Lee ever did, and Nick Lee went on to be a 2-time national champ. Haynes won some opens, and his best one was probably over Patty Gallagher, who is going to be the top guy at 157 for Ohio State. So I would say Levi Haynes could for sure be in the mix this season, but he'll probably start on redshirt in the beginning of the season unless the coaching staff sees it better fit that he's in the lineup. 165 is another fun weight to look at with a ton of depth. Facundo, the top tier Michigan recruit, is looking like the guy this season, but he had sort of a shaky redshirt season, but that is not uncommon for most redshirts, even the top tier guys coming out of high school. They normally need a year to develop, but in recent years it seems like kids are just coming out of high school ready to win a national title. However, Crane Etzel is probably coming off his best season in college ever. I would argue if he got to wrestle a full season, he might have qualified with an at-large, considering he beat a few guys like Myers of Lehigh, who was a national qualifier over him. This weight will for sure lead to some interesting discussions during the year, but if Facundo shows the promise he did leading into college, it'll be lights out at this weight for Penn State. Well, now we made it back to death row, but let's at least see what we have to talk about here. Kars Taraki at 174 will enter this season searching for his 3rd title, with most of the heavy hitters leaving Big Tens and the field besides Mekhi Lewis of Virginia Tech. Taraki is the last remaining wrestler that can be a 5-time national champion. Also, apparently Mason Manville still has eligibility too, so he could be a nice option if they ever want to rest or sit Taraki a duel or something like that. 184 is another 2-time national champion, Aaron Brooks, who could be a 4-time national champ. His battles with Miles Amin this season were insane to say the least. Trent Hidlay of North Carolina State and Kakaisen of UNI will be back in the field to test the champion, so it will not be a cakewalk for him, but I'm going to continue to buy into Aaron Brooks. They still have Donovan Ball that way too as well, who was a nice fill-in when Brooks was injured last season for a little chunk of the season. I know 197 we have some depth, and I think that really helped Max Dean continue to get better and better throughout the season, because it's not easy to be an All-American level guy like Beard out of the spot. I know there were some questions on whether or not Dean would return this season, but I think it's pretty confirmed that he's coming back for another run, and I think it really helped that he missed so many college years at Cornell due to them canceling so many athletic years. Now to talk about Beard a little bit, and what exactly is this dude gonna do? I don't think we have heard any rumors from inside the room that he is transferring, and the only murmurs are from, well, fans that like to start drama, so
No offense, just an observation I've made. I know he could go somewhere and potentially compete to All-American, but he is in the best room in the country, and some might even argue the best room in the world, and he will still have 2 years left after Max Dean leaves. I think he stays at Penn State this year and then battles for his 2 national titles. Plus, competing with a national champ every day is clearly showing, and you don't get that in every room in the country. Beard looked great at the Southern Scuffle, so he will continue to get better and better being behind Max Dean and competing for that spot, and he will be a key part of their 2024 team lineup. Finally, we reach heavyweight with the 2-time All-American Greg Kirkfleet, who finished 4th this season. Tony Cassioppi of Iowa had 2 wins over Kirkfleet this year, but they did not hit at nationals, and Kirkfleet would outplace Cassioppi. However, Kirkfleet always seemed to have Mason Paris of Michigan's number this year, which is a great number to have. But what exactly happens during that match if Mason Paris is 100% healthy? But who knows if we'll ever see that match. In short, I think Kirkfleet is right there to win it next year, but is going to come up to matchups. If we take out Gable this season, then Cassioppi versus Kirkfleet is a semifinal, which is not the best matchup for Kirkfleet or Penn State, but great for Iowa. I mean, they could have had a second finalist potentially. However, neither of those guys wrestled Schultz since 2020, and he was in the national finals, but Paris was also so close to beating Schultz, but then Paris always beats Cassioppi, and then you know what? I'm not getting trapped in the transitive property game. This weight is going to come down to who hits who during the year, and then the matchups from seeds at nationals, and then that will be our new heavyweight champion. But for now, yeah, sure, Kirkfleet is a title contender along with like 5 other guys. Well, everyone, that was fun. This is how I approach the end of this video. If you look at all the 10 guys, the best guys that could potentially be the starter for Penn State, and you told someone during all their senior year of high school, these guys are all going to be on the same team, the Penn State, they're all going to be on the same team at Penn State, you would be like, they're going to absolutely dominate. No one's ever going to touch them. And to be honest, that could be very true for this 2023 season. But with that said, this was a way too early look at Penn State's lineup, and that video is officially in the books. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, along with hitting the like button while you're down there. If you're binging my content right now, you might as well subscribe and watch all the new stuff coming out. If you are really loving it, I would love for you to support me on Patreon. Any kind of love on Patreon would be great to help support me. Now, with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.